Alright folks, how are we keeping? Finally, at last, we got our brake lines delivered. So what we're going to do now is we're going to actually mimic the line of where the old ones came down through and bring it out to the back each side and get ourselves sorted so that we can get the R200 diff in. So, let's do this. So before I did anything else, I wanted to do a quick recording of the position of all the clamps and the orientation of all the pipes before I start disassembling it. Once I was happy with that, I took the clamps off and start working on cleaning them up. Alright folks, I took off these clamps off the bottom of the car. You can see they're quite corroded, and I said I'd try and see if they clean up a little bit. I'm not too sure if I'm going to go and get them replated. They actually look fairly okay. So what I did was put them in some salt and some vinegar, and I said I'd give a quick one over. Do you know what? They're cleaning up fine. A lot of the rust that might be on these are related to the old chassis rail that was on it. I've just realised that vinegar and it cuts my hands. I'm not agreeing with each other very well, so I might put on a pair of gloves. I'll clean them all off first. I might leave them sit for another night. Wow, look at that. This is the way to go. So I'll leave them for another night in the solution, get rid of all the last little few bits of rust. So these are the brake lines. This is across the back. And then we've got one that goes all the way up to the front. There's a few little kind of sharp corners on it, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line the new tube up beside it, tape it at a few points to try and lock them together and mimic the shape of it. Should be fairly close to it. Okay, I have it following the rough line of the old pipe all the way along. That's the little hump at the back of the chassis rail, and then following that contour right to the end. So when that gets put in, we could do a few more final bends just to make them look like they're compliant together. So I'll run out two more pipes now, one for here and one, which I think this is supposed to be straight, over for the other side. Okay, got all those little clamps back into the salt vinegar mix for another day and got off the last few bits of rust. Looks fairly good. Now I'm actually going to zinc spray the outside, and even though they're zinc coated already, you can see where the zinc has kind of failed on some spots. So if I was to put it back on the car now, they would actually show up as rust after a while. So I'm going to give them all one more zinc spray, and then they can go back in the car. And like that, we are zinc coated. Leave that dry for a little while, maybe 2 or 3 hours, and then they can go back onto the fuel and brake assembly. Hey guys, just a really quick one there. You can see on the stats below there that I'm in around 25% on my subscriptions. It still means there's 75% of you guys out there. Now I'm actually delighted with my 25%, but there's more of you guys out there to be interested in subscribing. Please do so. Thank you. So this is my first one to do. I just got to check here with the brass fitting to see how it fits on. So yeah, seems to be threading in nicely. So looks good. So this is one that I've done already, and I've actually mimicked the contour of the pipe all the way up along to this would be back to the back position here, and you can see where the two of them kind of bend out to the same area. So I'm going to look at cutting this off here so it matches the length of that. I'm probably going to leave it a little bit longer just so that if I do make a mistake, it'll I can still go back to this length here. We start this process by having the tube out through the back, and using that flat face there, I file the end of the tube nice and square, flip it back so it's pointing out this end. Now this is the 3/16 end of the tool, and that's 4.75 millimeters. So what we needed to do now was to flare this inwards first, because this is a two-stage flare. You flare it in and then flare it out. So we put this little fella in line with the side here. That little shoulder there just basically gives you the idea of how high that needs to be pointing up. So then you place this on here, and with a little bit of lubrication, preferably brake fluid, you kind of lube it up first and then put this on. Now make sure that you have your brass fitting on the back of it there first, or else you're screwed. So put this on, and now we're looking at going to get the clamp on it. So this is actually my 5th time to do this. I did 3 trial runs on a few offcuts that I cut off the tube, and then I did the other end of this line, which worked out fairly okay. So this is the actual 5th time. So it's all about keeping it nice and square. So what I find handy is to give that a little twist so that the top tool is touching either sides of the bottom tool there. It just keeps everything centered. So what you want to do now is start putting pressure down from the top. Keep checking to make sure that it's all nice and square. And if you find that it starts sliding one way or the other, just give it a quick loosen off, reposition it, and then start tightening it again. And keep pushing it down until the shoulder bottoms out on the bottom. So this is going to be a double flare, so you flare inwards and flare out first. So we'll just take off the tool now, and you'll see that the pipe has just bubbled to start with. So this is stage 1. So as you can see right here, it's kind of like a little bubble. And then what you're going to do then is you're going to reposition the tool in on top of that and flare that out. It just basically means that there's enough meat at the top of it there to create the flare. So give it a quick squeeze down, and we're good to go. So there you go, the end has been nicely pressed out, nicely shaped, and if you try to pull the brass fitting up here, you'll see there be a bit of resistance. That's just from the grips of the lower tool. It's kind of putting a little imprint on it. So we're going to have to come in here now with a bit of emery paper and clean that off, and that'll allow the brass fitting to fit up. So yeah, looks pretty good, pretty happy with that. So I've just used the brass fitting from the splitter at the back of the car, and I've actually connected the two of these together. And as I tightened it in, you could actually see the way the flare actually kind of matched both sides. So this end gave it a nice little shoulder to mate up against, and then on the other side you could see like a little divot or a dimple that was pressed into the end so that the whole lot could roll together. So it looks quite good now. So this pipe is now ready to go and line up with the rest of the other pipes. These are all the fuel lines, which I just gave it a little bit of zinc coat, and we're ready to run them underneath the car now. So I got a head start on myself in here, and I had to drill and tap in one bracket. We'll have a look at that now in a second. I'm just going to use this as an opportunity to tie these into one of the pre-existing holes down here. I can mark the positions of the brackets on the pipes, but just put a bit of tape on it before I get to give them the little bit of gallon spray. So we're going to go in now. At this point here, there's 3 grouped together and bolted onto, I think, that hole there. But we'll go and we'll line it up and see how we get on. Just a little bracket on. The orientation of these pipes to each other, you can see that they do quite a big swing and twist here. The only way I could actually get that to do as I was hoping to do is by having recorded a video before I took them out, and then kind of played the video backwards as I removed these. You can see they all swing down here. This little bracket is the first one on. Just need to tap up the corner of it there to make it stand, sit where it's supposed to sit. And now we're going to go down further and put another one on down here. I'm going to be doing another coat of paint up here in the next few weeks. I just wanted to get the first one on to see what it looked like. When I do that, I'll just basically open that guy, stand it to one side, and do what I need to do in here. I have also a battery tray coming over here, and I'll be getting that welded in a couple of weeks. I have to take a trip to England for that, while I'm getting a gearbox and the whole shebang for this car. So I'm going for M6. So I'll drill a hole 5, and then I'm going to cheaper using the tap in the drill. Obviously you can't go in one go. I'll go in and out. Let the chips break away as you're threading it, just to make sure you don't break the bit. So I've got 1, and as you can see, 2, 3. This bracket goes up here, and the rubber block is in there with the pipes inside it. So we're just going to go and install that now.
Okay, pipes again at the back, and I got 1 clamp, 2 clamp, 3 clamps, 4. I think that one will get pulled up a little bit once we snug these in here a bit more.
So you can see one bracket that carries up around the corner, was the brake and the 3 pipes beside it, 3 fuel lines. And then this one's going to orientate it on its flat, so that keeps the pipes flat to the chassis. And this fella's going to come up here. I think originally it went up and over, but we're not going to do that this time. We're going to basically move it, so that's going to be connecting to the splitter to go onto the back. The rest of these are coming up to the front here. So kind of gets the pipes up onto the underside. And when we get back here, we can properly put up our suspension from underneath. So it's not too bad. And as you can see here, I have plenty more brackets to go on, so we'll get these worked out as we go through the car. And just as a lesson that I'm learning myself, don't use those button fixings. They're too shallow, so if you slip the Allen key once in them, they kind of round out and then they're stuck on, so they'll either be a nightmare for you in the future or a nightmare for some mechanic who will hate you. I do advise using stainless steel though, because that'll keep them nice and clean underneath the car. So I've run the pipes all the way along, bracketed all the way, and when I got to here I put on the little divider, the splitter, and let's turn on some lights. But I didn't know which one of these I was going up to, so I got the old pipe and put it up in position where the new one is, and you can see there it does line up with that one there. So I'm going to twist this around, get it roughly marked up to here, and then I'm going to run out my 2 side pipes. So here's my right hand pipe, and just spent the last few minutes just manipulating out this copper pipe to be fairly close. I'm going to leave it a little bit long, so we can just kind of bend it more excessively at points if it's kind of in the way. But that'll give me a good run. I've made sure that I have my connections in, and this little rubber fella had to be cut off the other guy to get on this. So we'll just go and swage or flare the end of this, and we should be good to go. Okay, so this fella will go somewhere like up there and over there, and then get held up there, so something like that. It's fairly close as it is. And one more bent out. Once again, left it a little bit long, so if we have to overbend one of these little arcs here, we can do that. But I just did not want to leave it short. And we transferred our 2 little rubber grommets over as well. So that's our pipe installed, going right across here, connected to our little junction, and at the far side, and that pipe is going up there. I've just made sure that that pipe wasn't interfering with any of the other pipes there, so that you don't have wear and tear as the pipes expand and contract when the brakes have been pressed. But other than that, she looks fairly good. I'm fairly happy with that. Alright folks, now we're nicely set up with the brake lines the way they are to get the R-tuner diff on from underneath. So coming up in the next episode now is the clean down of the diff, the identification of the ratio of it, which was a bit of a surprise to me when we actually worked it out. And then also coming up in the next couple of episodes after that, then we're looking at a bit of body work. And we got this sound deadener that got delivered that weighs a freaking ton. So looking forward to bringing these episodes to you guys. As always guys, any subscribes, really appreciate them. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care, bye bye.